This is Major Stories. Good evening again. I am Joel Crosskill. We begin Major Stories with the latest from Prime Minister Andrew Holness's visit to Nairobi, Kenya. While alluding to Jamaica's stock market as being the best performing in the world, the Prime Minister says that there are great opportunities on the island for investors in Kenya and the wider African community. He made this statement while addressing the 9th African, Caribbean and Pacific Summit in Nairobi, Kenya. My colleague Khadija Thomas has our lead story.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness is encouraging investors in African countries to look to Jamaica for potential investment opportunities.
Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean, Barbados, we have very stable democracies with very stable economic policies, particularly fiscal policies. So this is a good environment for investors to consider to place resources.
Adding to this, he reminded those present that Jamaica is currently ranked 6th on the ease of starting business and is now at a phase of development with a focus on infrastructure and energy.
And I'm using this opportunity to invite African investors to come and participate.
On the matter of energy, he shared how Jamaica has diversified its energy mix, is working on being energy efficient and reducing its carbon emissions.
Technology is improving. What we need to move apace with technology is a willingness for firms to make those investments in new technology. So I endorse what you said, Tony, and I encourage it here for African leaders as well. Ensure that you have efficient electricity power generation, but also make sure that it is environmentally friendly.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
A time for introspection and reflection. That's what one representative of the United Nations Development Programme is calling in its latest report on Jamaica's human development. The report, while highlighting the continued growth in the country's economic performance, criticized the inequalities that still linger in the society. Jamaica Maitland reports.
No growth without development, says UNDP. The international body lauds the country's improved economic performance, but calls for more emphasis on human development. The 2018 Human Development Report examined the country's overall performance, which includes a measure of life expectancy, access to education, and income. Jamaica was ranked 96 out of 189 countries, which is in the high category. But program specialist at the UNDP, Richard Kelly, says that's still too low for the country.
Even though the country is ranked as high human development, we're still below the averages for high human development countries, and also for those in Latin America and the Caribbean that are ranked as high human development. So this is, again, is food for thought, and the country needs to pay keen attention to this.
He explains that the country's emphasis on economic indicators are important, but is it enough to advance the country's overall performance?
Are we expecting the kind of growth that we want? These are questions that will come up as we move forward in the next year's report. I do not know what the theme will be, but I'm sure that despite the fact that we are moving in the right direction, the country has a lot of work to do.
Mr. Kelly says the Jamaican society is still being hampered by inequalities. He explains that several people of low socioeconomic backgrounds and those who live in rural Jamaica experience a different country. He argues that the country needs to invest in human capital.
The report is a time for introspection and reflection in the country, to look at the numbers and to go beyond them. Despite the fact that the country is moving in the right direction in terms of progress on the Human Development Report, we are hampered by the inequalities that are reverberating throughout the society.
The 2019 Human Development Report will be released in the first quarter of 2020. Jamaica Maitland for CVM Live.
The National Works Agency says it will be placing permanent barriers along a section of Mandela Highway before the end of the week. This comes after a number of motorists and pedestrians attempted to use a road which is now closed. Here is Christine Forbes.
There was increased rush hour traffic along the Mandela Highway as motorists are no longer able to make a right turn coming from Spanish Town Road in the vicinity of 6 miles on to Washington Boulevard. Although closed, a number of motorists and pedestrians took the risk by attempting to use the road. The Communication and Customer Service Manager at the National Works Agency says he is aware of the issue.
We still had persons setting down passengers in the vicinity of the area where the lights were, and that would have possibly caused, not possibly, it did cause some amount of delay in the area because persons were scurrying across the road.
Shaw shared with CVM Live that the NWA will be acting quickly to prevent further violations.
Now, that is a very dangerous thing. The temporary barriers that are there will be made permanent before the end of this week. That process is ongoing, and so I expect that in a couple of days, the steelwork and the concrete pouring will be done for that particular median barrier to be permanent.
He believes the pileup of traffic occurred because some motorists and pedestrians were not aware of the closure, and that created confusion resulting in the delays. Shaw says once persons get accustomed to the closure and alternative routes, it should be smooth sailing. Christine Forbes, CVM Live.
Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries Audley Shaw has announced that the government is in negotiation for a $100 million grant from China to fix roads in hilly coffee communities. This comes against the background of a fall in exports of Jamaica's coffee. Robian Williams has more in this report.
That we are looking at a grant from the Chinese government of $100 million to build out the infrastructure into the Blue Mountain region. Infrastructure.
The minister was speaking recently at the inaugural awards banquet of the Jamaica Coffee Exporters Association, JCEA, at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. The fall in coffee exports is largely blamed on a number of factors, including a decrease in export prices, crop disease, drought and high input costs, as well as poor road conditions in rural coffee farming communities.
We cannot continue to watch our local industry go into decline while, by the way, globally the coffee industry is growing. How can the coffee industry be growing globally, but in Jamaica, that has the finest coffee in the world, is in decline?
The government will also embark on a drive to increase tree densities on coffee plantations from the current average of between 600 to 650 plants per acre to 800 plants per acre. With these announcements, Chairman of the Coffee Exporters Association, Norman Grant, is calling for the development of a coffee industry stabilization fund and a marketing fund.
In your national budget, somewhere in the region of $100 to $150 million annually to support coffee farmers in both input and price support over the next 5 years until there is total recovery.
Meanwhile, the minister has responded to the opposition's claim of misuse of funds in the agricultural sector.
The observations of the Auditor General in relation to the management of the Farm Road Program, the ministry is taking them seriously, and whatever adjustments need to be made in order to ensure greater transparency and value for money, I want to give the country the assurance and the Auditor General the assurance that the ministry will deal with it.
Robian Williams.
Further complaints and concerns from customers. This time, those from rural Jamaica are calling for action to be taken, citing that service disruption is just a minor part of the issue. Khadija Thomas tells us more in this report.
A few weeks ago, the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, announced that it intends to take further action against the telecommunication providers who continue to breach national standards through an automatic compensation system.
We are going to be embarking on a consultancy with the public about automatic compensation for customers who are affected by significant interruption in their service.
This was in response to the ongoing service disruptions from both Flow and Digicel, including dropped calls and poor internet connection. Phone users responded to Elizabeth Bennett Marshy's statement, saying an automatic compensation system is long overdue.
If I get the credit more about money, no problem. No problem. So, fine is that if I get it back. It makes sense to ask me and I get a service, take me and gone, you know, good.
I return something that I lost unfairly. You know me I say, that is definitely unfair because we work hard to get the credit. Because even though I don't work as in if I get money and go buy it, I work hard as in to talk to my friend and tell me say I need some credit, you know.
Others, however, believe that there's a greater issue at hand to be addressed. That problem, they say, is poor customer service.
You see, when you call a customer service, you can't get through. No time at all, not there. Don't know why. When they do get you, 50 people that deal with you.
According to him, customers would feel better if telecommunication providers had a quicker response system in solving the issues they have.
You see, when you call them a drop, they go in at the hills up there, so name Bella's get at some place, they can't even make a call. What if you are dropped down and dead and if you call police or fire station? You're dead.
In the interim, the Office of Utilities Regulation is urging customers to seek rebates in the event of prolonged service disruption. Any refusal to honor such obligations should be reported to the OUR. Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.